I will be forthright and tell you right now that the beef between Pat Riley and Danny Ainge is really just one incident. Spicy, but very brief. What makes this beef special is how long it marinated. It takes a lot of pent-up pressure to generate such a sudden explosion, and in the case of Riley and Ainge, that pressure built for over 30 years. Pat Riley and Danny Ainge could have had beef in the 80s as part of the historic Los Angeles Lakers-Boston Celtics rivalry. Riley, who had once been a role player for the 70s Lakers, was an assistant coach for the team that won the 1980 title behind rookie Magic Johnson. In 1981, the 36-year-old Riley took over the head job and fit wonderfully with a team that embodied his style. Slick, flashy, successful. Showtime. 81 was the same year two-sport BYU product Danny Ainge decided to ditch his MLB career and enter the NBA draft, where that season's champion, Larry Bird's Celtics, picked him 31st overall. While Riley coached LA to the 82 and 83 finals, winning one ring in the process, Ainge tried to find his place in Boston, boomeranging from bench warmer to starter back to the bench under new coach Casey Jones. After dodging each other for a while, the Lakers and Celtics met in 3 of the next 4 finals. 1984, in which the Celtics extended their historic streak of dominance in the matchup, then 85 and 87, in which the Lakers finally got revenge. During that stretch, Coach Jones elevated Ainge's role to bona fide Bird co-star, an excellent shooter and relentless pest. That last part fit right into a matchup characterized by rough play and outright violence. Amid the hard fouls and fights of the 84 finals, Riley called the Celtics thugs. Ainge's teammate, Cedric Maxwell, suggested Ainge would take it as a relief to only be labeled a thug, nothing worse. But while Coach Riley loathed and derided the Celtics, he seemed to admire Ainge. I almost wonder if he saw in Ainge a more accomplished version of himself as a player, someone who actually made the career leap from 10th man to valuable starter. Riley called Ainge a great effort player, a talented worker who'd make a monkey out of you. Following Game 5 of the 87 finals, in which Ainge's scoring helped extend the series, Riley called his opponent one of the league's great shooters. All this about a guy who occasionally assaulted his players. Point is, this does not appear to have been an individual beef during the 80s. Riley hated the Celtics, and the Celtics hated him right back. Ainge certainly hated the Lakers, and, well, everyone hated Danny Ainge. Riley and Ainge could have had beef in the 90s. They had an opportunity. Riley became head coach of the gritty, grimy, decidedly un-Showtimey New York Knicks. Ainge bounced around and settled in Phoenix, which is where Riley's Knicks found him on March 23, 1993. That night, Ainge was defending Knicks guard Doc Rivers when his son's teammate, Kevin Johnson, hit Rivers with we'll call that a moving screen. Rivers gave chase, and we had ourselves one of the NBA's biggest ever brawls. After Ainge's wing of the fight kinda settled, New York's Greg Anthony, who wasn't even in uniform, started a second front. And look, here is Riley hopping into the dog pile, shredding what was surely a very expensive pair of pants in the process. In the aftermath, our two guys disagreed about the degree to which Kevin Johnson was responsible for instigating the fight. Ainge also accused Riley's team of pushing and shoving and generally doing illegal stuff to try and intimidate opponents. Still, while Riley and Ainge occupied warring factions in the conflict and disagreed in their analysis of it, they did not battle one another directly. No real beef yet. Moving along. Riley and Ainge could have had beef as opposing coaches. In the mid-90s, Riley ditched New York to take a job with the young Miami Heat, where he'd be head coach and a powerful voice in the front office. Ainge returned to Phoenix as an assistant coach for the 96-97 season, then got promoted when Cotton Fitzsimmons bailed after an 0-8 start. Ainge actually had a pretty good tenure as Suns coach, but as far as beef with Pat goes, not so much. Different conferences meant they only saw each other occasionally. Ainge took pleasure in beating a Riley team at their own super aggressive game, but Danny called Pat the best coach in basketball. And then, in '99, Ainge left Phoenix to be with his family. We entered a new millennium with Pat Riley still trying to make Miami a contender, while Ainge was outside the league except for the occasional TV appearance. So that's 20 years of history. Celtic versus Laker, player versus coach, coach versus coach, with no real beef. What's it going to take for us to get some beef? Well, join me in 2003 when Ainge returned. The former Celtic star took over as Boston's head of basketball operations. No longer Riley's opponent on the sidelines, Ainge would now compete with Pat through drafts and trades and free agency. He hired Riley's old player and brawl participant, Doc Rivers, to handle the coaching. Early on, the power differential between our guys was too great to allow for much friction. Riley's Heat reached the mountaintop. They drafted Dwayne Wade, added Shaquille O'Neal, and finally won it all in 2006. Ainge's Celtics remained pretty mediocre. In this era, Ainge developed a reputation for constant and sometimes counterproductive move-making. In fact, trader Danny's Celtics participated in what was, at the time, the largest trade in NBA history, the 5-team, 13-player deal in 2005 that sent Antoine Walker from Boston to Miami, where he played an important bench role in that '06 title roster. Not long after '06, Riley's focus shifted to a post-title rebuild, tanking to start over. Meanwhile, in Boston, Ainge knew patience was wearing thin, so he took 2 huge swings that shook the NBA. In the summer of 2007, Ainge assembled the Celtics' legendary Big Three. Alongside longtime star Paul Pierce arrived 2 elite pickups, Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett. While Riley's Heat hit rock bottom, the Celtics pulled off the biggest single-season turnaround in NBA history and won the 2008 championship, against the Lakers, no less. During Boston's playoff run, Riley resigned his position as Heat coach to focus exclusively on his duties as executive in charge of the rebuild. To climb back atop the East, he would have to clamber over an old foe. That task felt ever more real once Boston whooped Miami in the first round of the 2010 playoffs, and not in a friendly way. But Riley had a trick up his sleeve. In the summer of 2010, a master recruiter pulled off his greatest feat yet, an even bigger 3: Wade, LeBron James, and Chris Bosh. The Heat became a monster overnight. Decades after all those NBA finals, Pat Riley once again commanded Boston's foremost rival. That rivalry played out in the usual place, on the court. Boston won the first matchup of the Big Threes and did a little playful trash talking afterward. I completely forgot about Udonis Haslem calling Paul Pierce a studio gangster. In the 2011 playoffs, the retooled Heat got revenge for the prior year's defeat. In 2012, Miami eliminated Boston again in a grueling 7-game Eastern Conference final and then marched forth to win it all. Riley thus more or less matched Ainge's executive achievement. But Pat kept pushing, and pushing in this case meant pilfering. See, the vibes were off in Boston. Soon-to-be free agent Ray Allen didn't like where his role and relationships were headed. Riley saw a fissure in the Celtics and jammed his fist right through it. In a stunning turn of events, a fracture that still hasn't fully healed, Allen signed with Miami for less money than the Celtics offered him. Riley snatched one of Ainge's premier signature players right out from under his nose. This was a ballsy move, another example of Riley's smooth wheeling and dealing. An incursion into the business of a longtime rival that stoked some truly bad feelings. It also paid off immensely. Ironically, playing the kind of bench role Boston envisioned for him, Allen helped Miami reach their best ever record and eventually the second championship for LeBron and company, but not before the incident. At last, here is the beef. After all the above history, Riley and Ainge's 30 years of rivalry finally boiled over in March 2013. During a regular local radio spot, Ainge was asked about LeBron James, who had complained about calls in a recent Heat Bulls game. Ainge said that for LeBron to whine about officiating was almost embarrassing. To be clear, this topic had nothing to do with Ainge or Boston. Ainge's comment was kind of an unnecessary shot, but also pretty mild. A day or two later, beat reporters were talking to Heat coach Erik Spoelstra in New Orleans when they learned that Pat Riley had issued a statement, like a written, official statement delivered matter-of-factly by a Heat public relations professional. Here is Riley's statement, word for word. Danny Ainge needs to shut the fuck up and manage his own team. He was the biggest whiner going when he was playing, and I know that because I coached against him. Period. This would be a pretty incendiary way for a player or coach to speak about a peer. For a near 70-year-old suit and tie office type to enter shut the fuck up into the communications record is unheard of. Ainge soon responded, also, as far as I can tell, in the form of an official statement. Quote, I stand by what I said. That's all. I don't care about Pat Riley. He can say whatever he wants. I don't want to mess up his Armani suits and all that hair goop. It would be way too expensive for me. Fantastic. Doc Rivers was impressed that his boss's smoke bomb successfully provoked as cool a customer as Riley. He hoped they'd duke it out. Erik Spoelstra also got a huge kick out of the exchange. Ainge ultimately settled it, saying, okay, yeah, I should shut up, but also, so should LeBron. We're both right. And that was it. But still, what a satisfying release for us beef enthusiasts. After 30 years of respectful detachment across various rivalries, Riley and Ainge finally snapped. Ha! I knew it. I knew you fucking hated each other. You couldn't stay calm forever. And our little blow-up has kind of a funny denouement. It's like Riley and Ainge were embarrassed for everyone to see them get petty and feisty, so they kind of just feuded via transaction. Ainge's trade with the Cavaliers in 2014 helped Cleveland sign LeBron away from the Heat. Kelly Olynyk leaving Boston to sign with Miami in 2017 was apparently a sore spot. And Ainge must have felt some measure of revenge when that summer's biggest remaining free agent, Gordon Hayward, got the Riley sales pitch but still chose to sign with the Celtics. But as much as Brian Windhorst hyped up their hatred for one another, Pat Riley and Danny Ainge refused to give us any more public beef. When Miami and Boston met in the 2020 conference finals, everyone was like, oh, here we go, but nah. Fun series, no front office beef. When Ainge retired from his position as Celtics executive in 2021, Riley had nothing but nice things to say. He still hated Boston, but not Ainge. So that's 40 years, most of them spent in direct and often heated competition with 99% respectful rivalry. But the slightest provocation at the right moment delivered us what we all know exists beneath the surface. What we all crave and deserve. Beef. Delicious beef. Special thanks to DraftKings Sportsbook for partnering with us in this video. DraftKings Sportsbook is giving all new players a deposit bonus up to $1,000 with their first deposit. Just download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, check out everything they're offering like parlays and player props, then watch another beef history while you wait for the games to wrap up. If Sportsbook is not yet available in your state, don't forget about the DraftKings Fantasy app. They are offering millions of dollars in total prizes every week. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, use promo code SECRETBASE, all one word, bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game, and win $200 in free bets. It's America's top-rated sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and reliable. You can deposit and withdraw your money at your convenience. Must be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $5 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.